I'm Julius, and
standing in the camera. It's like that way. Yeah,
it's right here. Hi, I'm Julius. I'm presenting with Henry. We're going to present on OSINT, but we're introducing Jet. Where is he?
What?
Jet. Okay. And he was a part of what group was he?
Yeah, I'm fine.
This is Jet, and he's here to talk about
research with the university. Yeah, so my name is Jet Geronimo. I'm currently a third-year student here at U of I. I'm doing some research work regarding web hacking with the university. I'm working with Professor Daniel Kang, and we're doing some research on indexing different web vulnerabilities. So once we create the index of web vulnerabilities, we're going to test them on different LLM agents. So SIGPwny is going to post an announcement either today or tomorrow, inviting other people into the project. If you have an interest in web hacking or you have experience in web hacking, you're heavily encouraged to contact Professor Kang and join the project. We're looking to push this out as quickly as possible, so we're looking to get all hands on deck. So like I said, if you're looking to gain more experience with web hacking, definitely contact us, send an email to Daniel Kang, and we'll be getting you on board as soon as possible. So thank you guys so much.
Now, we'll hand off to OSINT for OSINT 1, handing off to Henry to talk about OSINT.
Thank you. Actually, I'm not even sure if there will be a 2, but you know, this is the first meeting because we'll cover the general things. Okay. So some quick announcement. Thank you all for playing FA2024. Challenges will be migrated. I think it's actually done. It has been migrated to our. Wait, it's published, but yeah, challenges will be migrated to internal TTF, Pwny TTF, and write-ups will be released. And I think this weekend we'll be playing Buckeye CTF. I'm pretty sure that's hosted by Ohio State. So, you know, come along. Also, you know, contribute in Discord if you can. It'll be pretty fun. So this is a meeting flag, SIGPwny getting to know you. And of course, relevant XKCD about doxing someone. Not really. I'll give you guys a moment to put in the meeting flag. Okay. Okay, I will get started. So OSINT stands for Open Source Intelligence, as you can see. So what is OSINT exactly? Open source by definition, so the stuff you're gathering is accessible to the public. If it's not immediately accessible, it will be. So, you know, there are some search methods we'll talk about. Intelligence just generally means information. It's just information that is useful, right? And a lot of it really can be useful, and examples you'll see later. Pseudonyms, recon, reconnaissance, you know, cyber reconnaissance, humans, etc. Stuff like that. And before I start, I have to give you guys a warning. This is like the obligatory, don't get in trouble, don't, you know, everything you do is not really affiliated. We're just here talking about this for educational purposes. Don't do that without explicit consent. Just practice common sense.
please do not do this. I like, do not do this on anybody who is not consenting to you OSINTing them. You will have the ability to do a lot of web stalking and OSINTing on people. That doesn't mean you're allowed to do it, and do not do it. You're weird, you're a creep, and we will not support you OSINTing random people for your own personal gain. We're here to OSINT for our club, and yeah, so.
Yeah, we'll specifically give you a set of accounts or user IDs in some challenges, so don't go out of scope. So these are basically what I just said. Don't interact with any user without confirming. Don't do any port scan on backend devices, especially not, without consent. That's kind of also pen testing ethics. Don't do anything out of scope. Don't do anything invasive, because like if you're doing something invasive, then it's really not kind of OSINT anymore. It's just called exploiting the social media for your personal gain. So don't do all of this. Also, I feel like I have to stress this because this happened a surprising number of times. Don't cheat on Reddit. I don't know how this is not common sense, but I've seen multiple instances of people posting my challenge onto Reddit and ask Redditors what that is. That is clearly cheating. I have to point it out, in case it's not obvious enough. But yeah, you can see got response from the internet. It's quite hard to investigate, but we've managed to get subreddits to agree to us to take it down, and don't do it. Because look, I have a wall of shame, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, this is okay. With all that said, I think we should begin talking about OSINT. Type of intelligence, right? So you can roughly categorize it as 2 types. You have signals intelligence. This is kind of a military term, but generally it just means intelligence on devices, such as those radios, computers, servers, routers, etc. So if you have a target machine, then what kind of information you can gather just from the parameter without doing anything, without directly interacting with it, right? And then human intelligence is the general type of OSINT, which is collection of information from human sources, generally about people, like interpersonal interactions. That's kind of intimate, but now we have internet, social media. So OSINT versus active reconnaissance. Well, OSINT is generally gathering strictly publicly available information through like search engines, etc., relatively passive means. You're not directly interacting with the target. You're not doing anything that's invasive, aggressive, whatever. Like, looking at someone else's house on Zillow is a perfectly legal and perfectly like ethical way of doing things. But in terms of active recon, maybe just poking around their house, checking out their cameras, seeing if their doors are unlocked. Now that's a little bit shady, right? That gets into the gray area. And of course, if they explicitly prohibit you on their property, then that's trespassing. So it will actually get into trouble. So in this case, on a machine, it might be actually, trying to find exploits, running exploit on the machine. So stuff like that. So, or exfiltrate data that's public, that's hosted on their web server. So don't do that. At least not with the consent.
Question.
What?
Question.
Oh, go ahead.
This social engineering fall under active reconnaissance, but it feels like it's like a simpler guide.
I mean, I guess it depends. Like, if you're talking about phishing, then obviously it is, right? But if you're, I mean, you cannot get away with social engineering without interacting with people, kind of. So generally, it will be active, but it depends.
I feel like there are some characters between the two. and some things that contrast is there.
Yeah. Okay. So signals intelligence, about devices. We'll only discuss methods that will let us system give information voluntarily, because if we're actively exploiting code drawing rodents, purple team meeting. So we're going to talk about port scanning, port search sites, and expose sensitive files. So first of all, port scanning. As the name suggests, a computer has 0 to 65535, all of these ports. And some of these ports are assigned to specific services, like this chart suggests. I still don't know who put that there, but it's there. Doesn't matter. But yeah, you can see a couple common ones: SSH, FTP, DNS, HTTP, HTTPS, etc. So a port scan is simply trying to establish a connection with these ports and trying to see if these ports respond, right? So you have the tools, and ports being open can provide information, because usually, as I say, the HTTP is on 80, port 3 is HTTPS, etc. And if you see a specific pattern, it might be a domain controller. So this is kind of like the Windows shit that most of you don't have to worry about, but specific port information can reveal what kind of machine it is. So domain controller is actually a very, very valuable target in a domain. And this is kind of legal, but ethically gray, because don't do it. Because it will actually track you down. I've not seen FBI in person, but don't give yourself that opportunity. Just stay away from it. So this is a website called Shodan. So it's port scanning, but open source, but not really. So it's a web scanner. It gathers a lot of information from the web, right? It scans all of the servers for a lot of different things. It tries to establish connection and then put the information in its database. So in this case, I searched anonymous access granted, because in FTP, in this file transfer server, if you configure it to let it allow anonymous access, it will say anonymous access granted. So as you can see, there's a map, and all of these IP addresses that I blurred on this web, on the slides, they all say anonymous access granted. That means you can actually access information from it as a anonymous user, so anyone can do it, right? So obviously, using this website, you can also look up other services like SSH, like HTTP. Maybe you can look up specific files like WordPress, admin panel, stuff like that. Of course, this is kind of for fun, because it's not like you usually don't get to use these, but that's Shodan. Grey Hat Warfare. I have not actually heard about this before until Ren told me. This is a kind of a search engine for cloud services. You can you can find files that are hosted on Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, DigitalOcean, etc. And then this example, we're searching for PFX and P12. These are certificate files that you can use to sign your own binary to make them legit, right? So we're removing temporary and dev because they are usually not very valuable. They're usually self-signed, stuff like that. So, if you can actually find a legitimate certificate that's open, technically you're not exploiting, but at the same time, this is a misconfiguration on their part, and they're leaking valuable files out in the open. So human intelligence, basically, this is human intelligence about an organization. Email format is actually very important, because as long as you know email format, for example, in our university, we have NetID, right? If you know the format, you can go through all the common names to find out who there are in an organization, right? Like if you know there is a John Smith in this company, and their email format is first name initial plus last name. you can probably guess, okay, there exists an account that's called J Smith in this company. J Smith at their email address. So it usually links to account names and potentially passwords, because some companies, some users and some companies don't follow the best practice. We're human after all. And of course, going to preferred restaurants, airline, hotels, stuff like that, can reveal a lot of information and can potentially give you an opportunity to approach them, stuff like that. So this is a video from Pirate Software that I'll show. This, I think, demonstrates how human intelligence on an organizational level would be useful.
I love to comment on this. It said, why was he training CS to not answer questions? And I said, really surprised how little is known about social engineering accounts. Social engineering is a branch of hacking centered around obtaining information or encouraging employees to take actions that they otherwise should not. CS was obviously not trained to not answer customer questions. Now imagine this, I'm in the middle of trying to get customer support man to work and something. It's like, hey, I'm actually really wondering, I was thinking about applying Blizzard CS, and I was wondering, I can't cook. If I do end up getting a job, do you guys have good places to eat around there? Try to get them into a small talk conversation about places in the area that employees generally like to eat. Now, the reason I would do this is because I have devices like a Proxmark that I can put on my wrist, and I can walk in about 3 feet of you, scan your badge and clone. I'm an offensive security specialist. I'm a hacker. And now I know where my targets go during lunch breaks. These are the kinds of questions they shouldn't be answering.
Right, of course. You don't even need to clone a badge. For example, if on a badge they have their name, their net ID, stuff like that, like our university card, you can get a lot of personal information from it. And so this is kind of on the personal side. You have social media profiles. Everyone uses the internet nowadays, and I believe even a lot of you guys, myself too, reuse a lot of usernames. So you can try to correlate using special tools like Sherlock, that's demonstrated in FAUCITF to correlate different people together. Images, you can do Google Lens or image search, and delete content. I mean, deleted content is not really that available anymore, with all the internet archives, being copyrighted and all that. But sometimes you'll find websites that are keen to archive everything, and they will have stuff like that. So this is kind of an example of how this is kind of dangerous, because really you should, I guess it's fine until you are a target, and then you realize that every single aspect of your life is exposed. So I'll just let this play.
The last one that we had like this was really interesting, because what he did was he targeted people in our community that gave large sums of money. Anybody that was a donator in the community, he would go out and try to correlate their donations with who they were to dox them. And then after he found out who they were by doxing, he would then go and look up publicly accessible dumps of credit cards. And when he looked at the publicly available dumps of credit cards, he would take that person's credit card number, usually from a very old credit card, like 4 years old, and then send it to them and say, I know everything about you. You're going to stop donating to this community and all this energy, right? So I looked into this dude because he got really sloppy with it. He was 16. Do you know how he got sloppy? His Discord account was tied to all of his other social media accounts, which were tied to his Facebook account, which was tied to his actual family. So he called his mom. She was very upset.
Right? I believe most of you would probably have a Facebook account or something like a Twitter account or whatever. And then those can actually be the same username as like your Discord account or whatever. And then I could just go and find you, but I wouldn't. But the point is, there are more information on the internet that exists about you than you probably expected. So try to be cautious about that. That's kind of a defensive standpoint, but also from an offensive standpoint, you can find a lot. Don't do it though. And yeah, so now Julius is going to talk about some general OSINT methods.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think one of the cool things about a lot of the challenges, I don't know how many people who here came to FAUCITF. Awesome. Okay, so we have some people with experience posting. A lot of the general methods that we have are I feel like depending on which platform you're on, you're able to kind of take a certain methodology and kind of run with it. Specifically, one of the things that people have is they have split identities. So this idea that some people will have a more professional side of what their online presence looks like, and one that's a little bit more casual. So think of somebody, like think of yourself and like your Instagram versus your LinkedIn. And maybe the accounts that you sign in with as your net ID at Illinois EDU and the accounts that you sign in with your personal email. You're going to have different online presences with each, but if they both represent you, then we can make a better image and see how you look from a more holistic perspective. Sherlock is a tool that we can use to find specific usernames on a bunch of platforms, especially if you use a lot of the same usernames, and you're able to kind of possibly map people together. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into using each of the different platforms to make a better web. I think one big methodology that you should have when you do OSINT is you're always going to have information about a person from one source, but kind of getting a very broad perspective and doing like a BFS before you do a DFS, not to turn it into a 225 lecture, but do a BFS and see everything and see all of the different avenues that someone has. And then finally, when you see all the different options, decide to dig deeper on options that you feel like are better and more informative. So specifically for X and Twitter, we've kind of highlighted some of the different information. This is one of our former presidents, Thomas Quigg. And looking at tweets and replies is super, super big. I think one of the big things about Twitter as well, or X, is that a lot of these accounts have links to other accounts. And I know Henry had talked a little bit about that, and as well as in that previous example. But our goal is to make a web of the person or the target. If you make a web of the person, then you're able to have a lot more of a holistic view as to how you want to use other methods to actually access their information. Looking at follower and following lists is also a really, really big deal because you're able to find who this person's related to and possibly information about who's tagging this person or who this person tags. Looking at the tweets and replies and the likes as well are good. Yeah.
Also, developers usually have a website, linked under Twitter or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Twitter can be more casual, but then if you click into a website, it shows all the projects you've done. It's more of a professional view. So yeah, it gives you both worlds, basically.
Yeah, I think that kind of just accentuates that idea of creating this like broad understanding of who this person is at a very high level and then digging in deeper. YouTube is an interesting monster because we have this idea of public videos, we have this idea of private videos, we have this idea of public playlists, private playlists, unlisted videos. There are so many different ways to actually get information about people on YouTube, which is pretty interesting. So this is, again, Thomas's YouTube. But also another thing is that some people hide information on the closed captions and different locations like that. For example, there are 3 different Englishes in YouTube. And so because of that, there may be different information that you can find within a YouTube channel. And then GitHub, this is another one. I think this kind of ties into the professional website, as well as especially in the tech field. People are usually linking their GitHub, and you can kind of see information about what languages a company uses or a team uses. Or let's say someone who used to work at company X programmed exclusively in Python, and then now they're at company Y, and they're working on something that's a larger project, and you're looking to find out what language it's in. That's a good way to find an assumption with that. And then commit history, pull requests. I know actually we had a fall CTF challenge on Git.
Yeah, we have multiple.
Yeah,
commit history is usually a big thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have no idea how many people just, use another commit to overwrite their password, not knowing that it's actually still in the GitHub. It's still a part of the commit history. Yeah. So, just keep that in mind. You can always force push, but don't actually leak your API keys, passwords on GitHub. Because even now, if you just go on GitHub and look for some keywords related to, for example, OpenAI API key, you can find a bunch. Now, granted, most of them are useless, but
somebody.
why.
Yeah, exactly. So
Also, through GitHub, you can actually see what time they're most active in, right? To guess their time zone. For example, the XZ backdoor event, you can try to see, okay, this guy is actually very active during US public holidays, so he's not a US citizen, stuff like that.
yeah, great points by Henry. Because those are all things that you're looking to find. And I think, yeah, those are all things that you're looking to find and assumptions that you try to make in order to make a better picture as well as we come back to the picture. And then here are just different locations on a GitHub that you can look, and so many different things. I think this kind of accentuates the idea of branching out. You can see we have a bunch of different locations. We have different websites, as you can see. We have a website that we're linking to in the about. We have different people who are starring this repo, releases, different folders, branches, tags, pull requests, forking, as well as just general information about what the project is, which may be applicable to what you're trying to do. And then Reddit. I think Reddit is a funny place because sometimes you'll find answers to your challenges. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. Don't do that. No, no, we're not going to be posting challenges on Reddit anymore, guys. Yeah.
We've made the, I think it's not admins, we've made the mods to take them down and make a special room for us.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. But Reddit, I feel like, has one of the interesting things about Reddit specifically is this idea that people are a part of different subreddits. So if you find out that someone is participating in the UIUC Reddit and they're posting information about their major and their minor and what year of school they are, and then they go to a completely separate Reddit that has information about entirely different things, the breadth that you can find about someone is scary. It is scary in Reddit. Profile pictures, banner photos, comments, post links, different awards they've had, but mainly links to other platforms. And I think Reddit is one of the best places to kind of find information that is entirely unique and random and not correlated to the initial picture that you find. Oh, also there's oldreddit.com. I think it just has a UI. Is there any other difference in like information on old Reddit? Yeah, I don't think there is. I know I had checked up on it and I think it's just a different UI, but just linked in there.
Also from Reddit, right? The vast majority of people use English on that platform. But if you're wondering where that person is from, you can always go back and see if they interacted with people in a different language, in a different subreddit. And then you can immediately tell which country that person is from.
And that's the thing is, like, because there's so many different subreddits, you're really able to kind of find different interests and niche interests that someone may have. And I think moving on to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is one of the greatest platforms for finding information about people, whether it's history of their like work experience, their education, their, I'm thinking of like resume, for example, a bunch of different information, all accessible. And people don't usually lie on LinkedIn because their goal is to try, like they have very different goals than someone who is being adversarial. Someone who's adversarial is looking to get information from someone, whereas someone who's on LinkedIn is trying to give information and show all their achievements and what they're trying to do. So it's a pretty good, it's pretty good to get information from LinkedIn. I feel like the posts, obviously, comments, different experience and activities that they've been a part of, education, and email, phone number, and address are usually in either resumes or usually not in their headers. Sometimes they're in their headers, but emails and phone numbers are, LinkedIn is a great spot. If you can find a Reddit to LinkedIn, or you can find a GitHub to LinkedIn or personal website to LinkedIn, it's a great way to find information.
If you're scared about meeting someone, meet them on LinkedIn first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, not much to touch on SoundCloud, but SoundCloud is also a platform that we can use to find information, whether that's what people like or what people are listening to. There you go. And then I feel like for media, you're able to do a lot of different things. If you have an image, you can reverse Google search it. You can use TinEye, which gets an exact match for pictures, and cropping it as well. But Google Lens is your friend. and it'll allow you to search for images and pretty much, yeah, like it's similar to a Google search, but overall, like, yeah, actually, yeah, because what does Google Lens specifically do?
It's like ChatGPT
Yeah.
3, but for images.
Yeah.
Like it's scarily good because sometimes if you're not local, right, you cannot identify what that is. But Google Lens can actually take
Find
like
similar images.
Can take like, for example, you can find the street views and the images of a place, right? It can actually reverse search it. If you take photo of that specific place, even from a different angle, it can use its AI algorithm to figure out, okay, that is the exact same place.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
So Google Lens is a pretty good option, as well as just Google search and TinEye. And then that's OSINT. So overall, I think one of the biggest things to take away is the idea of going for breadth and then going for depth when it comes to OSINT, and being able to kind of create that map of your target in order to make the most efficient route to solving a challenge, or in the real world, finding information to use other different topics. So make sure that you complete the OSINT waiver first, and we end up, I think Spoingus is out right now. So start with Spoingus, and okay, perfect. Yeah, we can release Ratty Investigation as well. But yeah, see the vault for more challenges. And yeah, thanks for what's up.
Oh, did you guys go over using OSINT to defeat security questions?
Oh, okay, yeah.
That is
one of the
really cool initial access method.
Yeah, so I think one of the as Ronan speaks on it, security questions. Security questions can be your mother's maiden name, they can be your first pet. That's what you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Things like that. Yeah, so a lot of interesting information can be found when it comes to all of these different tools or all these different platforms in order to get a general information about someone who is a victim, right? Or one of our targets. And when it comes to your security question, which is information like, yeah, like what's your mom's maiden name? Where is your high school? What is your hometown? What are some other
basically.
Yeah, like pretty much those types of questions that they would ask in order to verify that you want to change your forgotten password or verify your email. This is a great method. And for example, if you're looking at like the high school you went to, we would know, okay, if we would check this person's LinkedIn, or we may check their, what else? I guess LinkedIn, or maybe Facebook. Or another thing too that you could do is go to their parents' information on Facebook or LinkedIn, because their parents are just posting information all the time, and go back and find out the information about the other person.
Also, like in case of hometown, right? If you see a person has some strong opinion on a specific place, because some cities like r/Philadelphia, r/Washington DC, whatever. Some cities have their own subreddit. If you see this user being very active on it, you can kind of assume that they've been living there for a long time, which means you can basically assume that's their hometown, right? And sometimes they will even talk to you about it and be like, I was born here like 15, like 20 years ago. It wasn't like that. That's kind of an easy giveaway.
Exactly. So definitely use OSINT to find security questions, as Ronan had pointed out. Good point out, Ronan. And so, yeah, that's OSINT. So for our next meetings, we have next Friday through Sunday, we have Buckeye CTF. That's in Siebel Center for CS. I don't think we have a room yet, but we will let you know and ping you on Discord. As well as next Thursday, we have reverse engineering with Juniper, and learn to actually use Ghidra and get into that. Or is it, what is it?
It's this Friday, sorry.
Oh, this Friday, okay, my bad. There's a typo in here. Buckeye CTF is this Friday through Sunday. No, you're all good. And yeah, go out and practice your OSINT skills, and only on people who give you permission. But thank you guys. Here you go.